that we can reduce our sugar cravings, and ideally ways that we can do that also benefit us in other ways, both nutritionally and from the neuroscience standpoint. The fact that these neuropod cells, and I should say other neurons within the gut, respond very robustly to the presence of particular amino acids is also a potential lever by which one could reduce sugar cravings. And there's an interesting literature around the amino acid glutamine, in particular supplementing with the amino acid glutamine as it relates to sugar cravings, and certainly as it relates to other aspects of the gut, in particular leaky gut. The use of supplemental glutamine to try and treat leaky gut is not a new phenomenon. There are other approaches too, of course, but there are many people who are experimenting with supplementing with glutamine several grams per day, often even 5 grams distributed through 3 or 4 different servings throughout the day as a way to blunt their sugar cravings. Now, there has not yet been a large-scale clinical trial using glutamine to reduce sugar cravings, but the results of the few studies that I looked at, as well as my understanding of the logic of these neural circuits, including the neuropod cells, brings us to a conclusion that it makes sense why, if there's a population of neurons within our gut that responds very robustly to the presence of sugar, fatty acids, or amino acids, that the intake of particular amino acids would allow the dopamine pathways that might otherwise be triggered by sugar to be triggered by something like glutamine, which has very few or no calories. I know some people who actually take glutamine and mix it with full-fat cream and take it kind of like a shot of full-fat cream, which sounds absolutely delicious, by the way. Glutamine is a little bit chalky, so it's not that great tasting to ingest with sugar. I should mention that if you do try and take this approach of ingesting glutamine to reduce sugar cravings, you want to increase the amount of glutamine that you take somewhat gradually. It can create some gastric distress if you just, I certainly wouldn't take a big tablespoon of it, throw it in water and chug it down 3 times a day. Please also realize that there's an entire literature devoted to the potential hazards of increasing glutamine if you have a pre-existing cancer. So if you have cancer or you're cancer prone, I would really discourage you from this approach. And in any case, as always, talk